We'll call the June Town Council meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody. This is one of the biggest crowds we've had in quite a while. We appreciate you all coming out and hope that we can take care of the business that you need from us today. This time we have Reverend Duck lead us in a prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Reverend Duck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, everyone. Let's pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Truly, you are a great, awesome, and mighty God. We pray and thank you for the great celebration that was just experienced here in Appomattox this past weekend, 100 years, a centennial celebration. And I know that, Lord, you blessed it, and many people came and had loads of fun. Now, tonight we pray your guidance and direction for each one, each speaker, each council member, the mayor, and the town manager, and each one tonight that participates in this meeting. May you guide their words and use them tonight to bless this community. We give you the thanks, all things done. To God be the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
We have a few scheduled public appearances. First, we have a presentation of the ISO Insurance Public Protection Classification Review by Fire Chief Jonathan Garrett of the Appomattox County Volunteer Fire Department. Mr. Garrett.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Thank you all for allowing me to be here tonight.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Jonathan.
I missed a step.
Yeah.
If you would
I'll pause right here.
into the floor. Each council member has the agenda before them. This time I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Motion made, properly seconded to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Ayes have it, the motion carries. We shall continue on. Mr. Garrett.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Thank you all for allowing me to be here this evening. While she's getting that TV up and going, I wanted to just say again, thank you all for your support throughout the years. You were all on the cusp of celebrating 100 years, and this town incorporated this fire department shortly thereafter in 1927. So this governing body has always been unwavering and faithful support of this fire department from the very beginning, and we're grateful for that. So tonight I'm here before you. We got some results back. These results will go into effect September 1st of this year on our ISO rating, which is our public protection classification that scores our fire department based on our emergency service zone. Our emergency service zone is where we primarily respond to, and this is looking at our structure fire response only. So this report looks at a lot of different things other than just the fire department. However, the fire department is the largest portion of that. It also looks at the Department of Water Resources and our dispatch center, which is dispatched out of the county's 911 center. Several different insurance companies use this. They're not required to use this, but several different insurance companies do use this to base their homeowners rates for our community residents. So on the next slide there, you'll understand a little bit better of a picture of what the ratings are. So go back one. Other way. There it is. All right, so these ratings are graded from a class 1, which is exemplary, to a class 10, which doesn't meet any satisfactory criteria. This classification depends on, like I said, the fire department response to dispatch communications, water supply, and community risk reduction, which we rely on. We've got an in-house fire investigator, but we rely on working with the county's fire marshal to work on that as well. So who this impacts is properties within 5 road miles of a fire station and 1,000 feet of a water supply receive a first-class designation. So now, new to Appomattox, we will receive a 4. This year, last year we were at a 5Y, now we're going to be a 4Y, which is good for our community. So with this, we can do a targeted campaign to let our folks know that live in these areas that, hey, you may want to talk to your insurance companies about this. On that next slide there, gives you an idea of, go back, yeah, there you go. That's overall looking at what the entire county got scored at. So the fire department, as I said before, is 50% of the rating. The water resources is 40%, and they're just shy of being 35, so only missed being full service credit by like 5 points or so, which is really good for us. The water resources and fire department's points improved drastically this cycle, which overall is really good for us. So on your next slide, focuses just on the fire department. So it looks at our engine companies, their reserve pumpers, the capacity that they can pump at, our ladder truck. A lot of those categories got full max credit that we could get. We really improved on our training this year and deployment. Things that I can't take credit for. It's a group effort that requires 40 of us volunteer firefighters who are out there beyond fire calls. They're out there training, we're documenting this and reporting it back to them. Beyond all of that, we have to get the pumps tested, the hose tested, and all these different things that we certify to them that are working properly, so we can ensure that we're giving out adequate fire protection flow. We can look at the commercial buildings, primarily those are in town, and look at the fire flows that are needed and make sure that we meet those fire flows. So this last time was done in 2019, and overall, as a county in our emergency service zone, just our fire department's responsibility. From 2019 to now, we've improved 14.75 points this year, and that was largely due to the work of the fire department and then the water resources maintaining what they're doing. Y'all improved the water line on Church Street. Did they test that this time or not?
No, it was prior.
Okay. But the fire flows improved drastically because of that. But overall, the fire department increased by 8.61 points. So between that 14 and that 8.61, the town covered the gap on the rest of that with their water supply. So all of the hydrants on 460 that the town is responsible for, that extend all the way into the county or into the town limits, all of that stuff is vitally important to making sure we meet those fire flows. That's 40% of the score. So keep doing what you're doing as far as that goes. It really does help us out a tremendous amount. And then the deployment, if you look at the deployment on that same page, that's looking at our apparatus. We're looking at off of road miles, but that looks at how quickly we get to the firehouse and how quickly we can get a truck en route to a structure fire. So just the other day we had a fire just on the outskirts of town. We were on scene in less than 10 minutes from the time that we received the call. The fire was extinguished and we were mopping up in under 20 minutes or so. We hooked to a hydrant right in town. The town showed up relatively quickly. They were there to support us if we needed it. But all of that is what this insurance services is looking at, is our deployment, our training, stuff that when we go out there and see that, that's what the public doesn't necessarily understand. They just want somebody there quick. But our training and your support through that, allowing us to have the equipment that we need, the funding that we need so we can get these trucks tested, means a great deal to this. The next slide is a little bit about David and the town's kind of more in depth. I'll give you the report. So it looks at the supply system, the hydrants, and then inspection and testing. So really high marks on all of those things. Like I said before, 40% of the overall is the adequacy of the water. Why it's vitally important that we maintain a strong supply and that infrastructure going forward. Community risk reduction, that's an area that we don't get negative points for. We can only get positive points for on that next slide. That looks at your fire prevention code, so things that the town already has built into the fire prevention code, built into your code. Looks at the county's fire prevention code as well. Public education, we don't get full credit for this. primarily because we have to have people that are certified fire safety educators, and that's something we're going to look into changing and improving. We do go out to every one of the schools, and we're already doing this. We just don't get credit for it because the people that are doing it aren't necessarily certified. But we go to every one of the schools in our first due and daycares and do this public education to help try to promote fire prevention. And then the other thing, the fire investigation side of it, that's new to us this year that we were able to get credit for. Didn't get full credit, but we got pretty close on that. Having an in-house fire investigator that can do cause and origin that works in conjunction with the sheriff's office.
Who is your
Dylan.
Okay.
Yep.
And who is the county's fire marshal?
Lonnie.
Lonnie. He's been that for years.
That's fine.
So on that next slide, it just shows you where a lot, so in 2023, Class 4 was the highest ranking that you could get. Prior to that, we were in the Class 5 category, which isn't bad. Class 4 is where a lot of folks land. The big thing to notice with this is we're at 67.59. We're only 3 points shy of going down to a Class 3, and that's our goal going forward. We're
Well,
gonna
and
get
see,
to
and
that
David just said that you were rated before the town completed their water line, their Church Street water line.
Well,
So
so-
that should help.
We got pretty good credit for the water supply. We identified a couple areas of its growth on our end of things as far as documenting and training a little bit better. But the dispatch center is making some upgrades. They're going to go into effect in July. They're going to take care of that pretty quickly. So we will likely, next time we're evaluated, maybe even before, drop down to a Class 3, hopefully.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So, I know I gave a lot of information out at once, but I just really wanted to highlight all of this. I know that it's not something that every person is going to see an impact by it that pays homeowners insurance, but what it does do is holds our people accountable to training and a commitment to when the pagers go off, we're going to respond and we're going to be ready when they do go off. And we couldn't do that without your support. It's simply not possible. And like I said in the beginning, it means a great deal to us that you all do support us in the capacity that you do. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Jonathan, you said when you responded to the fire over on Pumpkin Station Road the other day, you hooked to a fire main in town, and then you made the statement that the town showed up. What does one have to do with the other?
So we hook to a hydrant over there, and anytime we hook to a water supply in the town limits, we try to at least notify them. But in that case, so that house actually is in the county limits, I believe, but the town supplies water because the water line stretches out all the way to Walton Place.
Right.
So the town came out and disconnected the water at the house, so we didn't flood the house if a pipe had bursted or something due to our overhaul procedures. So they cut everything off and make sure we don't have any further damage to the house.
Okay, but it didn't necessarily have to do with you hooking to the hydrant?
No, sir, we just try to, as a
okay.
courtesy, notify them, but they came and disconnected the municipal supply to the house.
We got-
Depending on where it's at in town, they might have to open some valves to bypass.
Yep.
In years past, but now we've gotten it looped back around to where you don't have to do that as much. But we have valves that can open to backfeed if you have to, but big working fires. But like Jonathan said, we just notify so they can make sure the hydrant's all right and the lines, no ruptures or nothing that come from fires.
I just have two questions. One of them is, which one is the most weighted category again on the PowerPoint? It's there's one of them that was like heavier weighted.
As far as,
Yeah, because there was like 4 categories, and it was just a couple of slides back. It was the one where the horizontal lines. And I also had a question about that one too. The black lines, are those benchmarks or those averages?
so the I think solid black lines are national average.
Okay, good. Okay.
The dotted black line, or I guess not the dotted, I don't know exactly, I don't remember the dotted ones.
Mm-hmm.
But the dashed lines is our peer group.
Okay.
Do you remember what the dotted ones were?
Okay, yes, that one.
So the
yes,
state group, there you go. So
Okay.
the solid is our peer group, then you got the state group, then nationwide.
Okay.
Sorry.
The fire department's the most weighted on that one.
Yeah, so we're
Okay.
50% is the overall, because it's looking at us as being the main factor in it. And then right behind that is the town at 40%.
Great. Well, I mean, like I would just look at the metrics, y'all doing a fabulous job. I mean, honestly, just being able to look at that, so just well done to y'all.
Appreciate that.
Very.
Y'all gotten a resolution from the county on the fire truck?
Nope.
Is that putting pressure on y'all?
Yeah, because we had a insurance claim that didn't turn out the way that we hoped we had, so our operation budget right now is pretty much nothing until August. But I'm hopeful that I'm told that it's going to be on the agenda at the next meeting. What happens from there, I don't know. But so far, no resolution.
Huh.
Got a video?
I do have a video, but I didn't know if you wanted me to show it or not.
I think they'd love to see it.
Me too.
All right, can I email you a link real quick?
It won't be long.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's fine.
So this video is, I'll email it to her, so you got internet access, I presume? It's not a publicly shared video, it's just, if you have the link, you can see it type of thing. But it kind of highlights some of what we do from the perspective of a firefighter, and it's from the fire the other day on Pump Station Road.
A lot of times the public just gets to see this red truck go down the road and the lights and siren, but they don't, this will show you a little bit of what the firefighter has to do to get into the structure to do a search, because we had a vehicle in the yard, so that tells us somebody could be inside. So this video will show you a little bit about what we have to do to search and rescue if somebody's there.
Got a little bit of sound. You don't have to have it on. I can kind of narrate it for you. If you want to cut the sound on, that's fine too.
Give us a little bit of sound, so that's it. Hold the fact.
Probably ain't gonna work.
Pretty max picture.
Might have to change your output on the speaker, maybe.
Go to your speaker in the bottom right corner.
Yeah, and then click here.
Here?
Yep.
Yep. Now we need a remote. 'Cause it's on. Don't worry about it. I can narrate it.
That's fine.
Full screen.
Let me take it back to.
That's fine. That's good.
All right, so we were dispatched June 3rd, 2025. We're dispatched at 13:25 and en route at 13:31. That counts into consideration the time for the people to drop what they're doing and go to the fire station.
6
get geared up,
minutes. That's
and get the truck
amazing.
on the road. This truck was
They're
staffed with
awesome.
6 firefighters, so there was a car in the driveway. So that made us think that the house was potentially occupied. We arrived at whatever time that said, 13:31, I think. So we split our crew up. 2 went to do fire attack. The other 2 started searching. One of them was this gentleman sitting right here with me. Started searching the house for any kind of occupiable space. We don't necessarily look for survivable space. We look anywhere that someone could be occupied. So in this situation, we had heavy smoke coming from all sides of the house. Concord was their mutual aid partner on this one, so they came in. Chris Mason is a school employee, so he was already there near in the vicinity. So he got a 360 done, told us where the fire was. So they made entry into the side door. Encountered the fire right away.
Wow.
And then started to extinguish the fire.
While that's going on.
Simultaneously, while that's going on, they're in there attacking the fire. We've got 2 others searching the back part of the house. We've also got crews outside doing this. This is called vent enter search. So it's a new strategy that the fire service is starting to implement quite a bit more frequently, and it basically prevents us from having to crawl through the entire structure, going in through a window directly to a bedroom to find someone that would have been trapped. In this instance, this was the bedroom of an 11-year-old girl. Thankfully, nobody was in the house, but had there been, we would have got to her relatively quickly. But in this instance, we went into the room. Once he clears the window, it's not as easy as it looks, but once he enters the room, he sounds the floor here in just a second to make sure he's got a good floor below him, goes in, and then starts searching that bedroom relatively quickly. From there, I think in this case today, that day, he searched the rest of the house. This can be done with one firefighter inside, one firefighter outside, or you can send 2 firefighters inside as long as you get good contact for them to find their way back out. He's also got a thermal imaging camera. I think Nathan talked about that at one meeting. This is where some of your money goes towards. So you'll see him using it here in a few minutes. He's scanning the room using the thermal imaging camera, things that we can't see. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of visibility in that room. He's searching the bed there now, making sure nobody's in there. Thankfully, everybody got out of this house or was not home at the time except for some animals. Unfortunately, some animals succumbed. But this family was away at the time. So that door right there, if you ever see us promote any kind of public education, we say close before you doze. That bedroom door was closed, and if you could see the after pictures, that room didn't hardly have any smoke damage at all. You know, it's still got quite a bit of haze in there, but it's survivable. When he opened that door, he searched right in that vicinity, closed the door back to isolate it back. But that's one of the things that we promote. There's a thermal imaging camera right there. But it just gives you a kind of a POV view of a firefighter going inside of a house fire. Not every one of them's like that. That was something what we call a room and contents. It had a whole lot of smoke going on and was getting ready to light off. And that's the thing with these fires in town. A lot of times we get to them in that stage, and it's really volatile for us to go into it because the smoke's getting to the temperature where it can ignite and light off like gasoline. That's why our gear is important, our equipment's important, and we just simply couldn't do it without you. So.
When you say something like we need money for an air pack, it seems obscure to the average person, but it's life-saving
Yep.
for our firemen.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the jobs that we have to do, you know, when we bust that window out, he's going in and it acts like a chimney. And all that smoke and fumes comes out of there. And we couldn't, you know, back in the day they used to fight fire from the outside, and they had a coat on and some day boots and a helmet, and that was it. And you didn't have the option of going inside.
Back in the days of surround and drown.
Yeah.
Through my firefighting training from being on the boats, I never realized how dark it could get going into a fire.
Yep.
But as soon as you hit that fire and everything steams up, you're
Got zero visibility.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Anybody have any other questions? I want to say thank you to David too and Tori. They came out and met with me, you know, when we were doing this pre-assessment and pre-survey, and we talked through this thing. We make sure that each other had the right documentation that we needed to make sure that this was a satisfactory review, and I'm very appreciative of that. So.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate the presentation and appreciate the coverage of the community, the fire department.
Thank you all.
Thank
You are so
Have
welcome.
you dried out
I'll
yet?
share that with council,
Okay.
the video and
Have you dried out yet?
Yeah.
Next, from the country of Uganda, the Wakiso District Local Government Deputy Mayor Daniel Wadimba. Did I pronounce that properly? I tried. He has been with us before, and he's here to follow up on that. We're always glad to have you here, sir.
Yes, sir. The mayor and the executive plus everybody present. Of course, the town manager, it's a blessing to be here with you all. And I bring you greetings from the mayor of Katabi Town Council in Entebbe Municipality. We don't live very far from the international airport. It was my own initiative to start pursuing this friendship as a leader from Uganda who doesn't stay far. When I come here, I live with Mr. Hank, who is my adopted dad for the last 18 years. So when I came to their home, I said, okay, take me to where the town leadership meets at. So they brought me here about 3 years ago. And every year I come, I bring a letter from my mayor to the mayor of this town. And the reason I do that is I believe in we believe in partnerships, we believe in friendships, and the kind of partnership we are looking at is a learning one. We wish that our mayor and maybe 2 people can come and visit to just learn on how you do things. You are an advanced civilization compared to ours, so there is a lot we can learn from here. And of course we can explore other opportunities for us to work together, like you visiting us also and advise us on several issues within our town council. So we continue to believe that that will happen, and as long as I come, I'll be able to come here definitely and bring communication from my town council. And I would love to probably have talked to the mayor that is going to write back to officially say I was in this council, I met and I delivered greetings, and I continue to extend our invitation in terms of having a partnership that is ongoing for the good of our people, the schools, the government itself, and in many other ways. I appreciate that, and may God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate your visit each time. All right. Our next item on the agenda is mayor comments. I'd like to thank everybody who worked on getting the centennial celebration together. Special thanks to Nathan and Sydney, and the
It's
many
okay.
participants of the glorious dunk tank that kept us all, a few of us cool on Saturday. We had a very good turnout. I'm not sure of the count of people, but 100 years in the making, 100 years of history, 100 years of progress, and we continue to move forward, hopefully to get to the greater things that this town is capable of. All right. Next item, the adoption of the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered, pardon me, all matters listed on the consent agenda are considered routine by the council and will be approved or received by one motion in the form listed. Items may be removed from consent agenda for discussion on the regular agenda upon motion of any council member and duly seconded. Items are the April 14th, 2025 regular council meeting, the May 12th, 2025 regular council meeting, and the 27th of May workshop meeting.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion made, properly seconded for adoption of consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Ayes have it, the motion carries. Next, citizen comment. Do we have any citizen comment tonight? Thank y'all. Moving forward. Is there any unfinished business to come before the council at this time? Under new business, discussion, evaluation of standing committees, specifically the Physical Development Committee and the Finance Committee. Each of you was sent an email copy with a PDF of each of the descriptions of what the committees do, and we need to see if we feel it's in the best interest to keep these committees intact or to move forward in a different direction. Entertain any comments.
It seems, looking at the history, if you go back to when John Wilson was elected, the intent of this council has been to kind of root out areas where power influence has been consolidated into a smaller subsect of the council or into one person. And I think it's been kind of the operating tempo that the decisions were small enough of a council that the decisions can be made by the full council. There's not, there's not really a need for breakout committees, at least the way we've been operating. And it seems like it's been kind of like that for 15 years. I see it one of two ways. We either need, if we keep the committees, I think we need to empower the committees to have actual functional process and have meetings. And I know there was a meeting maybe 2 or 3 months ago that you raised some objection at, and your points were valid, I think, with, are we going to do it or not? And we just need to figure it out. I'm happy either way. I think the council can work as a council, or we can have committees if there's some objective need to have it. But how we're operating now is probably doing a disservice to the committees. So I think we make a decision and just stick with it.
Well, else was pointed out in part of the literature that we provided. It's not a cheap entity or cheap way to get things done, because it requires not only the committee members but council staff to be here during those, basically at least the town manager and the clerk to record the meeting, and any other staff members that need to present. And in some cases, if it moves forward from the committee, it would be redundant and also presented to the entire council. Like I said, we're small.
In the era kind of like when that made sense was, I'll look at the minutes for some things, and I think they were trying to slurry a parking lot or something, and Ronnie was on the committee for physical development, and he was going around and calling people to ask for quotes on what it would cost to do X, Y, or Z. So it's almost like, we're obviously not calling for quotes and doing task-based work. We're just analyzing decisions that staff have pretty much briefed us on and making decisions. So we may not need breakout groups.
Right.
The only thing that I see the benefit of having them, that in the past, when I first got on, we had where we did get involved with letting staff know how the council feels and relay that to them, in effect, that they're not going off spending a whole lot of time doing something that the council ain't gonna approve. And then it got to where everybody was showing up for the physical development meetings, and mainly the finance committee. We started working on the budget. Really and truly, the three on the committee were the ones that usually would start compiling things, not necessarily the overall budget, but the things that the council wants to see either improved or added or taken away from the budget. Those things are the only thing I see as an asset of having it, that if things get to moving, we could share with the staff the direction that the committee or the council would want to go. Hopefully the committee would be directed in that way to move in that direction. But that's, like I said, we hadn't used it for a while, but mainly the finance committee has been the one that kind of helped in the past when Bill was here and all, to get a feel of what the committee, the council wants, and then bring it to the committee, and then they would bring it to the whole meeting. But I don't know, I'm all right either way. But
the only thing that, so if we keep the finance committee, we have to 100% pull out any language that says that it's responsible for, what's the problematic language in it? It's like staff or HR or something.
Well, that's a part of it.
So we need to axe that because we're, fully adopting and have adopted council manager form of government. But the one thing we do need to have is an annual built-in process for us to review the town manager. Because we have to have that performance review. It helps him, it helps us.
And if I could interject, that when we did the review for our last town manager, you and I were, and I can't remember.
Mr. Boyce.
Was he? And we were chosen, and we sat down, we had a special meeting, and we sat down and developed benchmarks and guidelines for the evaluation before we did it, and then we did it. And it worked.
I would like to see us move into cleaning up the committee's duties and roles
Yeah.
and bring it back to us and let us see how that's going to look before we just get rid of it. Because I think we have a lot of new people on here that probably don't even know, unless that document they sent us would identify, but get it in black and white of what the duties are and what the purpose are, and then decide whether we want to keep it or not.
So basically decide what the job is and then let them do it.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot in it that never one of the three of us had any business putting our nose in, especially in the areas of HR. So,
Very much so.
so yeah, I think if we could define what they do and how they're going to do it,
And make it make sense.
yeah, absolutely.
Because this doesn't
Absolutely.
make any sense, the scope, because Mayor Connors moved me from the Physical Development Committee, which I'd always been on, to Finance, and then when I looked at this and had a discussion with the chairman, Jim Boyce, who asked me, what do we do? I said, I don't know, and because this is not well defined. And we have no business whatsoever with personnel issues. That should go through the supervisors, 100%.
We have one
We
person.
have no way of knowing how your workers are working on a daily basis when you guys, I'm looking at you two, but there's others in the town office too that are managers of your staff. So it's out of our league to be making those calls. It's inappropriate.
I think we have a very educated and skilled town manager, and I'm curious to hear how the people who have figured out local government, how they do this. What's the recommendation?
Well, I would say, I'll start with this. First, I went back and I found some minutes from 2016. I also spoke to some folks that were around at the time. No committee has ever made any decision, ever. It goes to council.
We have
And
recommendations.
I don't take direction from one or two of you, or three of you.
Absolutely.
I take direction from the seven of you. I think that I had my opinion, and then I found that in our records from, I think, maybe from the previous town manager, but from your retreat with Berkeley Group, Mr. Kim Payne had put together a list of his thoughts. I don't see that included in here, but it basically, I read it and I was like, wow, it's the same, we're thinking the exact same things. So that's why I had these, and this is appropriate for both committees. There really is these questions are appropriate for both committees. So, what specific outcomes or efficiencies do we hope that the Finance Committee will achieve? But you can take finance out of that, like any committee. What specific outcomes or efficiencies do we hope to achieve? Could those outcomes be met just as effectively in full council work session, where all members receive the same information simultaneously? And that's important, because we all know, at least in my experience, in just the 4 or 5 months I've been with you all, that we cannot reproduce these informal conversations perfectly, right? It's one of the reasons why we tape, so we could have accurate minutes. Is the current use of staff time proportionate to the value the committee is producing? This is my least important concern. It does matter. I don't want my employees to have to be here if they don't need to be here. They want to be home with their families. I signed up for this, but they didn't necessarily sign up for this. And then, I guess my last thought is there is a chance for an alternative if we really do think that there's some utility there to be found. But that's the thing is I don't know what that utility is. You would have to tell me what that utility is because I don't see any. Now, regarding the budget, regarding maybe projects, things like that, where that's what this last question is ad hoc financial review teams or something like that. We get into budget season, and if we have a couple counselors or however many that are interested in helping develop the budget that we bring. I will say I thought, especially for our first budget together, I thought our last one went very smoothly. And when I was at the VML Small Towns Conference, we were one of the few small towns that had an approved budget at this juncture.
And I think it's very much, it works better, I don't know how to express this, when all of us, I've been both ways because I've been on here a long time as well as Jimmy.
Right.
And I think it works much better when we have full council at our finance meeting, our budget meetings before the regular council meetings. That goes better. It's smoother when we're, and it went.
Well, it's very likely in my
Everyone needs to
experience.
hear it.
In my experience, like watching the finance committee at our previous employer and seeing it at other places where they, and that's a totally different set of circumstances. But a lot of times what you'll see is you have 2 or 3 people on the dais, 2 counselors, 3 counselors. You'll ask a question. It's going to get asked again, probably.
Redundant, yeah.
I think that from the minutes, what I did glean, I am not discounting the work that the folks did 10 and 15 and 20 years ago, because it read to me like it was much more. You didn't so much have, and this is not a knock on anyone. I don't mean this as a negative on anyone. But you didn't seem to have a chief administrative officer set up like you do now. It seemed like it was a group of folks working towards a goal together, which is a great thing. But I think with the group that we have now, and I feel like I hope I have your trust. That's why I'm here. All you have to do is tell me what you want. And we'll do whatever we can to make it happen. And if you ever feel like you're not getting enough information, all you have to do is say so. If you have any specific questions or any general questions, that's what we're here for. And that's why we have staff available and come to these meetings sometimes when it's appropriate. So, for me, I would just say I have no issue with going back to the drawing board and trying to come up with a way to do these things meaningfully. It's not. I'm not sure how to do that.
So I think where we go from here, I would like to see both committees just absorbed back into the council, but we have a defined framework, or at least just operating understanding that sometimes there are projects that a town manager needs or will, just by the nature of what it is, will have an elected with them, whether in person or on email chains or whatever. And going through what we went through in the last year and a half, we really don't want to be in a situation where one council member goes off on a, field trip by themselves and starts saying things on behalf of the council. But if you have a situation where the council can, through an action, say that for this specific thing or project or work stream or whatever, which we've done, that council member has the blessing of the council to work with the manager or whatever on it. It just gives the manager some comfort, I would think, in communications or actions. And in the minutes, we have done this for specific projects and types of things a long time ago, and I've asked for that type of permission 2 or 3 times in the last year. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, just to add to that, I mean, the one thing I definitely won't like go down for is like the sorry, that's not the right terminology here. Let's see, it's the idea that, like, based on like the last half of this on point 8, is that within certain contexts, the power of a special committee is actually very important, and it's some of that council, the mayor is able to actually give institute to. And it's because they have seen a certain passion from certain council members in order to help out with certain projects. So I think that is definitely vital to it. So I think the standing committees, just as a broad term, yearly and everything, there is no certain mission statement or true depth to them, whereas, we may come up to a certain type of task, and we have to kind of face it head on, and we may want to brainstorm, and we may want to strategize, and that's the time to therefore call a special committee to be able to actually work on something that we're truly passionate about, and then to go over, because maybe not all 7 of us are really passionate about this one little area. We all have particular set of talents, and if we can utilize them, I think that's absolutely great. So yeah, but I think just having the generic standing committees may not be as helpful in everything, but I think there are times where the mayor, our town manager, should be able to say, hey, this is something that we need to think about, and let's get some really motivated council members to, get in there and to kind of brainstorm it. Because at the end of the day, we are only recommendations.
But that's in your charter, I believe, the ability to form special committees with the force of the council.
needed.
Yeah, exactly.
By resolution, you can form a committee that, and then that committee can act
As
under
and
the
when
authority
needed,
of the
not-
mayor.
Oh, yeah, of course,
Not
yeah.
constantly
Yeah,
have.
the main clarification is that I don't discount committees whatsoever. It's just that they are important towards that charter. So it's not like when this is presented that there are certain members up here who are against committees in general. It's just that there are definitely certain ways we should utilize them, and there are certain ways we probably should not utilize them. And I think that's where you're going back to, where you said how we kind of need to get like a better framework and how we can get that done.
Well, if I may, I do want to differentiate between the standing committee and the idea of a committee. The Centennial is a perfect example.
Yeah.
That is that was well done, well executed. It was, the committee served its purpose as it should have, and it was appropriate, because especially when we're talking about volunteer time. We're talking about things that are basically outside of the day-to-day operations of staff and the town. So I think that's a really good example of where a committee is appropriate, right? With the standing committees, I just feel they're redundant. And there's also a possibility for communicate. I mean, you would think that we talk more, we have more communication. Well, that's not necessarily true. Things can get lost in the chatter. Things can get lost in translation. And when I have these opportunities to speak with you, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with all 7 of you.
Yeah, I think it works much better.
Yeah.
Bill Gillespie, one of his favorite expressions to us was, I drive the bus, you tell me where you want me to drive it to, and I will certainly try to keep it on the road and not go out on the ditch. We all laugh, but he said that often, and it was true. So the manager's job is to drive the bus, but we got to give you the direction, the map, the destinations. But to your comment, McKinley, and I'm not taking away from it, but you said certain ones of us have more talent in one area or another. How can we utilize that when the way it is the mayor says to me, which I've always been working with Timmy about the physical development, all of a sudden I'm on the finance. Not that I'm not capable of doing the finance, but that's not, I'm saying, that's my field of expertise. Certainly it's not. I didn't have a choice, I'm on it. And so Jim and Nathan were on it. That's an example of, we're not really, I'm not a star person to be on finances. But I'm willing to do it, but I think that they're not necessary. That's just my opinion.
And I have another
These committees
example
are not necessary. That's just, I'm one person.
of an appropriate use that we're efforting on now is the Rose Committee.
Yeah.
That would be a good example of something that would be appropriate for that. The main thing is as we've discussed, we want to make sure that we keep our, as you said, council sets policy and direction. Execution is what staff gets paid for.
Exactly.
So,
Let people sitting right here.
like I said, I think that pretty much covers it from my end.
How about this? Okay.
All righty.
Let's suspend the committees for a year. And if we like it, we can get rid of them after a year.
But if we find that we need them.
That's actually a Donnie Simpson thing, is he called it the harmony box when we needed to get rid of stuff at home. And he'd make us put it in the harmony box. And if we didn't touch it for a year, it was gone.
What did you lose in the harmony box?
I don't want to talk about it.
I could use one of those boxes in my house.
He's still looking for that teddy bear.
And possibly in the same time period, go through and let's take out all them places where it has no business being.
Yeah.
This personnel stuff in the finance committee.
I don't really see how three of us can put our heads together and say, well, we're gonna set a tax rate of X amount.
And that's it.
And then come back to this full council and say, based on the recommendation of the finance committee, we're gonna set this tax rate at X percent. And three of yous are gonna look at us like we're crazy.
Yep, pretty much.
And that is one of the things the finance committee is taxed with according to our charter.
So I will make that as a motion, and it will suspend and in effect just not use those committees. And then by resolution or amendment or whatever we need to do a year from now, if we find that we didn't use them, we had no extraneous reason to use them, then we're safe to go ahead and get rid of it.
And if we have an issue that comes up before us that we have to make a decision on, I feel very comfortable and more comfortable in having all of us here and the manager and discuss it amongst all of us.
So
To make a decision.
What I'm saying, so I don't come off as crazy, is I understand we could just as easily, like it is in effect the same vote because we can create a committee or not. But it's kind of just us setting a council policy that we're not going to use committees as a stepping stone to actually getting rid of the committees.
I would just, and Cindy, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the Finance Committee and the Infrastructure Committee are mentioned in the charter. So we will be doing charter amendments that will have to go through the state legislature. So keep that in mind in this, because that timing, like are we going to run the charter? We can, but are we going to run the charter through this legislature 2 years in a row?
Well, I think we suspend.
By suspending, we don't have to do a change.
Still be in the charter.
Not utilizing it.
Well, right.
They stand, but they're not utilized.
We give future councils the opportunity, like, it's silly. You could create any future council could create a thing to do whatever.
Make a motion to do,
You
to reestablish.
just create but the fact that it's in our charter is probably some anachronistic, like, you used to have to put it in a charter or something because it had actual power. But that power is probably stripped away by the General Assembly in 1958. So I'd be comfortable as soon as, if we're doing a charter amendment this year, we can get rid of it, and then if we ever need a finance committee again, we just create it as a matter of council
Another ad hoc
action.
committee.
Because is there any power that is held by the finance committee or fiscal development committee that would be required to be defined in the charter?
No.
Right, so
So-
let's just get it out of our charter, and then if we need it again, we recreate it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the key thing is at any time, if council feels there needs to be a standing committee for anything, even regardless of finance, infrastructure, or if that's whatever direction you want to go, you have that ability. But I would very much like to clean that charter up because there's a lot that we're gonna, and it's tweaking. It's not, the way we're operating right now is not going to change because of the chart. We've talked about it in our retreat. So there's nothing to be worried about in there, but I really want that to match what we're doing.
It would be like if we wanted to, I wanted to make sure this definition was right, like we can create an ad hoc
Yes.
committee, and that's a temporary committee formed for a specific purpose or task that was not within the scope of existing standing committee. We could do that, and then it wouldn't have to be in the, well, certainly the Rose Committee is not in the charter, that was a creation of
Correct.
Bill Blake.
And you could form another standing committee still,
If you wanted to,
if you wanted to.
if we
This
felt it
was-
was
It's
needed.
my recommendation that we
Yeah.
don't do that, and that we clean up the charter. But if you change your mind, you don't need to go back and change the charter to include the standing committee. All you need to do is just vote it into existence.
Okay.
So I'll make that motion. When convenient, would direct the town manager at the next charter amendment, or prepare a charter amendment to remove the physical development and finance planning committee as standing committees for the town.
Just remove all the standing committees from the town charter.
Yeah, and in effect, we're just allowing a council to define what standing committees they want.
Well, for the most part, the committees that have been involved during my term of service that have been productive have come from creating a small committee like the Centennial Committee to get things done that doesn't require the entire input of the council to get it done. But they come back and bring us their recommendations for approval,
Well,
So
and it's
And I would-
been very efficient doing it that way.
You make an excellent point too that I also want to say, there very well may come a point at any given time in 2 weeks or 2 years where I will come to you and I will ask for a committee because it's to the chief administrator's benefit in some circumstances to have help and cover from council, right?
Correct.
So there may be, I don't know what it might be, but there may be something where I would say, hey, listen, I need more guidance than the 7, because we can't have the 7 of you.
well, and
all the
this
time.
is an example that Nathan and I, fire and ice, and and we got together when Cindy was with us, and we came up with a code of ethics and conduct, and everyone here signed it. So, and it didn't take us that long, and that was a committee, and it was one and done, and then we brought it back, and everyone read it and agreed, this looks good. I can live with this, and so we all signed it. Here's a copy of ours. That's the kind of committees that we could create.
What we are doing, I'm piecing through why that would have ever been in a charter. And I imagine back when you had closer to strong mayor form in the town, it was a way, because the mayor has really broad discretion in assigning those committees. So if you had a particularly gridlocked council, a mayor, where they were actually enforcing rules of introducing stuff or introducing a budget, a mayor could assign members that were advantageous to his agenda to get his stuff passed. And we haven't had a strong mayor form of governance in any, whisper of a thought in 30 years. So it's just a legacy remnant that we can do away with.
Bill Kleski was pretty strong, but he was an interim.
Let's jump
After
in.
He was
that-
strong
We'll
interim
replace
mayor.
strong
Oh, you're
mayor.
talking
Manager.
about mayor, you're right.
Strong
you're
interim
right.
manager,
I
but-
got my,
Call for a vote.
yeah,
You got a
I,
second?
I don't,
I'd like to entertain a motion to the dissolution of the committees and a filing of appropriate charter amendments
I
in a
thought we
timely
just-
manner.
yeah, I made that motion.
he already made that motion.
Get a second?
Second. I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
And just the specific language for that is to prepare a charter amendment for appropriate filing, because that would have to be a public hearing.
Yes. We probably have a few we need to remove from the.
There's,
Yeah.
if you recall from our retreat, it's a pretty major edit to the charter is what I'm working on.
I have a couple, I'll get with you on those.
Okay.
So then we'll have to have a public hearing before we can,
Get them all.
I have a redraft of the charter with additional input,
okay.
then it has to go to legal, comes back from legal, then we have to, when you're all good on it, you vote on it, approve it, then it'll go to the legislature, they'll vote on it, hopefully approve it, no reason not to. So it's a lot, but that's why I say do once.
Yes.
And we do have to have a public hearing before we send it to legislators, or we don't?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think so, yeah. But first. we
Part of
have
the
to-
process.
Yeah,
All right.
okay. That sounds good.
Yes,
There's no
ma'am.
further discussion.
Take our time to get it right.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, no. The ayes have it, the motion carries. At this time, I'll entertain a motion by the council to convene a closed session for the purposes of discussing or considering the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including discussion of the terms or scope of such contract, where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the negotiating strategy of the public body.
I move for a closed session.
I just have a question on this one. Is this the closed session that I added? Is there?
multiple?
Okay, so let's just say contracts A and B then, just so we're,
Sure.
that's just how I've done it in the past, how I've been told to do it. But,
Okay.
because there's multiple contracts.
So do we need to hold, can we let them go first before we go to close?
Well, no,
Are they gonna be
we
part
just
of
need to
it?
go into closed session and I'll direct us. And then
I just hate to hold them.
Tori and David will be staying for a bit.
Okay, that's fine. They both have babies at home they need to tend to
Yeah, I do want to get them out of here, but
before they go to sleep.
they're here for closed session.
That's what I was asking.
Okay, yeah. We just wanted to make sure it was convenient for them. No.
I have a motion. Do we need a second?
Second.
Motion made and properly seconded. By roll call vote, Mr. Cardwell,
Yes.
Mr. Boyce. Yes. Mr. Garrett.
Yes.
Mr. Hensley. Yes. Mr. Simpson.
Yes.
Ms. Spiegel.
Yes.
By a vote of 6-0, we'll go into closed session. Madam Clerk, would you?
To the best of each member's knowledge, the only subject just discussed or considered in the preceding closed meeting were those lawfully exempted from the FOIA Act's open meeting requirements and properly identified in the motion that convened the closed meeting pursuant to the Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A29.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
By roll call vote, Mr. Cardwell,
Yes.
Mr. Boyce,
Yes.
Mr. Garrett,
Yes.
Mr. Hensley,
Yes.
Mr. Simpson,
Yes.
Ms. Spiegel.
Yes.
I vote 6-0. Motion carries. Standing committee reports, we're going to push those. Town managers report.
Two things, just to give you a heads up. Airbnb is in the process of setting up a secure internal system as part of their compliance with House Bill 2383, SB 1402. It's the Transient Occupancy Tax Administration. Basically, that's, we have the 5% lodging.
tax, yeah.
Well, this is to ensure that when Airbnb or VRBO or whoever does that, we get the 5%. And that's for all localities. I mean, it's not just for us. So they're, I've put them in contact with Kim because it's one of those things and Kim and Brooke, because they want a person to report to. And the state is trying to do this all digitally and all that. But the thrust of it is that hopefully we might see just, a little uptick in revenue. And then the last thing is great news. It's taken long enough. Clean audit. Audit is finished. Clean, unmodified opinion on the audit. So they should be here at the work session to present their findings. That's it.
Thank you,
I know that
sir.
Brooke and Kim are happy over that news, that the audit is finished.
And I requested and was immediately informed that the process has already started for us to make sure that we are already rocking on our audit for next year.
Yeah,
Because
that's how you do it.
I don't do late audits.
Thank you, sir. Council comment, Mr. Cardwell.
Just thank everyone for sweating it out on Saturday night. Y'all did awesome and everything, although, Richard, I think yours was a little bit different.
I enjoyed it. I really did.
Not half as much as we did.
Okay. Thank you, McKinley. Mr. Boyce.
I have nothing.
Thank you, Jim. Ms. Spiegel.
I don't have anything tonight.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Garrett. Mr. Simpson.
Just one thing, we have 700 Marines that are actively being deployed in Los Angeles, and that's not normal, and they're in harm's way, and they are defending the country against people waving another country's flag, and I am keeping them in my prayers, and I would ask that everyone keep them in your thoughts and prayers too.
Here,
Absolutely.
here, well said.
Thank you, sir.
I've just reading about it on the way here.
Okay.
We create 65% of our problems.
Mr.
The
Hensley.
The mayor of Los Angeles and the governor need to be in jail for what they're doing.
We're a nation of immigrants, and our country was made great by immigration, but
Not that kind of
burning cars and violence is not.
immigration. And throwing rocks
what we
at
do.
police cars, and literally throwing huge boulders at them to try to.
That's all I have.
I'm an immigrant. My grandparents came to Ellis Island from Italy. They didn't act that way. Never would have thought to act the way the people they're calling immigrants now. They're not immigrants, they're hoodlums.
Mr. Hensley. No. Thank you, sir. Any other business come before the town council at this time?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made, proper second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no?
Lock the door.
We're adjourned.